Hey everyone, just giving a brief warning at the top here that today's episode is going to include a pretty lengthy discussion of suicide and a little bit about suicide methods. So if that is not something you are comfortable with listening to, not something you feel you're, in the place right now to be listening to, that is totally okay, and feel free to skip this one. All right, on to the episode. Are you good to go?
Yep.
Let's do this. It's Fruitless. What's up? I'm Josiah. You know me, and I'm joined today by Caleb. Hey, Caleb. How's it going?
Hello. I'm excited to be back on the Fruity podcast.
And we're doing an episode we've been talking about doing for a minute, so I'm kind of
since
excited.
October, I think.
Yeah, you've been wanting me to watch Control for a while, which is the Ian Curtis biopic. Although, not I mean, that's kind of what we're gonna be talking about a bit today. Is it's like a biopic, but it's not like a biopic that Hard.
It's a movie. Yeah. It's narratively interesting, good shots and all that. It's not like a boring, regular old, run-of-the-mill biopic.
No, it isn't one that is an exact Walk Hard is a perfect parody of. It's not like that at all. There's no
he's not looking back at his entire life because he couldn't.
Yeah, Ian Curtis has to look back at his entire life before he plays Level Terrace. God damn it. Yeah, so we're talking Joy Division, we're talking post-punk, and we're talking about Control. Well, so I think maybe the best way to start this, though, is give us the rundown on Joy Division. I assume most people listening to this have heard of Joy Division or listened to some Joy Division or even Joy Division fans, but in case somebody is complete dum-dum about this subject, what's Joy Division?
Well, if you've been on a college campus, you've definitely heard of them. And if you see their logo on their t-shirt, you know your neighborhood's about to be gentrified. But they are probably one of the most important rock bands of the last 50 years. They some people wouldn't call them rock, but those people are stupid. But they essentially they were one of the first post-punk groups to come out of the English, the punk revival. Because the first punk kickoff was 75, and then it kind of resurges in 77. Because people were saying punk was dead in in 76, but
that's so awesome.
Then it had its second. A lot of these bands, they sprung out of seeing one particular concert by the Sex Pistols.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that's the concert in the movie Control. That's the one that makes him want to go start a band, is the Sex Pistols.
And multiple bands started that way too? I didn't actually know that.
Susie and the Banshees is one for sure. A lot of those post-punk guys, because it's just them realizing, I can be creepy or yell or, just be wild on stage. And then they take, the flamboyantness and kind of vocals from David Bowie, just to that's kind of post-punk is mixing, that anti-authoritarian stuff from punk and kind of the energy, but then making it more subdued and thought-provoking, like a David Bowie song, especially at that point, the album Low, that was released the same year as the Iggy Pop album that David Bowie also helped make, The Idiot. Those two albums are what made post-punk as kind of we know it. Mm-hmm. The Idiot more kind of in the goth spectrum, Low more into the New Order, Depeche Mode, if you can call it. Yeah, it's just that type of stuff. They kind of splits into the more still sad but kind of poppy, and then the creepy. Yeah, and Joy Division is right in the middle of that.
Yeah. So it's the kind of it kind of kicks it off in a lot of ways. I mean, obviously they're not the original post-punk band, but they are the one that seems to have inspired a lot of people to do that kind of shit.
Definitely with music with a sadder tone. I would say they're the big influence to that. We wouldn't have genres like emo or a lot of even a lot of the punk bands. Henry Rollins from Black Flag says that both Joy Division albums are perfect. He thinks they go down as some of the greatest rock bands ever because of how innovative they were. You saw in also the movie Control when they're recording one of the songs for She's Lost Control, when they're trying to create that like raspy drum effect, like in a Ronette song, they're using aerosol spray. Just like that. They were just being very creative. That was a time when everybody was. You had said this that a while back. I can't remember when. That was a time when everyone realized like it was like a new frontier for music. Everything. It was just everyone had a new outlook when computers and different recording technology started getting invented. It like everything changed.
Well, yeah, because post-punk was really about just like pushing the limits of like what punk music was, and that's I mean,
that's slower or longer, than a Sex Pistols song.
To mention one of my favorite guys, Mark Fisher. He's obsessed with post-punk for that reason. He's got a quote about how I think it's like his political project is trying to capture the emotions of the hope or whatever, the imagination of post-punk, but in the political sphere. So like that's, it's a really influential genre,
It really is. Definitely for, the slowly evolving alternative scene. And, that's just, I mean, I don't obviously know what was fully big at the time other than what was, the top 40s of those decades. But like this is when music started to just take, I think, a much better turn, because that's the reason punk became a thing, is everything started to become predictable. To quote Glenn Danzig, he was a really big fan of The Who when they first started, but then they just started to become like, they were really interesting, but then they just started to become just making radio hits, and that was all these people realizing, hey, I could do that just in my basement but better, or whatever, like I could do something different. It's not hard, and everyone else sucks right now. Obviously there's different genres, and it's going to appeal to different people, but for rock it was getting stale, and that's
so
where
it's like injecting some life into it.
Or a lot of these punk bands also realizing that they could actually be successful in this, like the success of REM was a big influence to like Black Flag. That was when they realized they could be commercial, was when REM started getting big. It's like, oh, there's like this weird emotional stuff that like did not seem appealing to anybody 5 years ago is like killing it right now. Like anything's possible. And that's what Ian Curtis was going off of. He was, he never intended to get famous, but he just started. He was always like a creative person, writing and poetry and just songs, and he just wanted a creative outlet that became way bigger than he ever intended. A movement he never meant to start.
So let's move to Ian Curtis here. He's the kind of central figure of Joy Division. Although there
are a lot of characters from it, but
not to say that they the other guys don't matter, but in my head the other guys become New Order, and what makes it Joy Division is Ian Curtis, in my opinion.
Definitely, like they were technically founding members before Ian Curtis, but he made them the band they were. He took it a different turn, because they were a punk band originally. Like if you listen to some old recordings, like I have a vinyl of Warsaw, their original band. And that just has alternate recordings from like Unknown Pleasures that are just a lot angrier and raspy. He's like yelling a lot more. It like barely even sounds like him. And some of the more like stuff you can find on like Spotify or Apple Music or whatever, like songs like Inner Zone, Ice Age, The Kill, Failures, Warsaw, Walked in Line. Those are all like straightforward punk songs. But then his emotional turmoil started to really like churn. That music took a turn with it. Like he was actively writing his mental decline.
I think I had also heard, I don't remember if this was Joy Division or a different post-punk band, but I remember some probably apocryphal anecdote of them accidentally fucking up like a tape, like a recording of fucking up, like they accidentally were playing I don't know if it was like playing a record or something like that, but of I think Sex Pistols or something like that at too slow of a tempo, and they heard it and they were like, we want to make stuff that sounds like that. Like you take punk but slow it down. It sounds all warbly and weird.
Yeah, that's I don't like know if that's true, but that sounds very true. Like because if you do, like I've got a lot of punk records. If I put them down and turn down the speed, it's got a post, like a more of a goth post punky sound. It's because it's using the same notes, but they they just play those instruments differently in a different genre. So it kind of shows that off before it actually became a thing.
Yeah. So Ian Curtis, though, is, kind of is a really interesting figure. And that's of course why we're talking about the biopic here about him. He, like you'd said, was a really, really emotionally troubled guy. And was not alive for very long either. He had a huge impact, but was only around, like, I think when we were talking, we had realized he wasn't far off from like our parents' current age. It's just that he died so young. This was a preview for a Patreon only episode, so check out the show notes if you want to hear more.